remind people about the work that Gary Webb did. You've played characters who are sort of all along the spectrum of integrity, a couple of very well-known action heroes. You've been a troubled soldier with a conscience. You were a mayor of New Jersey. What made you want to play a journalist?
I always look for a challenge. I always look for something I don't know much about, to learn and grow. And Gary Webb is his life is much different than mine, and it's nice to kind of be on the other side, kind of understand journalism, and especially somebody who was really badass at it. And it was a great journey. It was a great
to the work that Gary did, and the stories that he actually reported, that whole series.
Yeah, it was a script. It came to me in script form, based on Nick's book, and Peter Landesman had written a script, and I was in the middle of shooting The Avengers, so I was slinging a bow and arrow at the time, and I was reading it during a lunch. I'm like, oh wow, this is a pretty powerful, amazing piece of material, and I thought, I really want to do this. Then I did my own research and studied some more, and then it became a story that I had to tell and not wanted to tell anymore. So then here we are. Very, very blessed that we actually were able to do it.
Did you find Gary interesting because of the story that he uncovered, because of the kind of person that he was, or a little bit of both, perhaps?
Yeah, I was more interested in Gary, to be honest. Obviously the story he uncovered, there's a lot of downriver sort of stories that could have come out of this, but we only had 2 hours to tell this movie, so I really kind of focus on the individual, and that was kind of what I wanted to do anyway. And hopefully, when people see this, they kind of can go do their own research on what happens downriver and have their own sort of thoughts on it. But the idea was sort of as a tribute more to Gary and his work and what he's done, and because he's written a lot of beautiful pieces. And but he's a pain in the ass, and he has a stick, and he pokes a lot of bears with it, and that's what his job is. And he's good at it, and unafraid at the repercussions of that. It's an amazing thing, and I think he has heroic actions, and but he's not a hero. Maybe he's heroic because he's flawed. That to me is.
As somebody with purely objective motives, it's nice to see a journalist portrayed as a hero in a movie once in a while.
or heroic, let's not go too far.
Did you want to go, method in any way for this role? Did you actually want to meet real-life journalists to see how they did their job in preparation?
Yeah, I did. The writer was an investigative journalist, and Mark Bowl, who I worked with on The Hurt Locker, is also another investigative reporter. So guys that I've worked with intimately in my life, I got to pry into what it's like, to know how they approach their job and what that is, because it's so foreign to me. And more importantly, I was kind of more curious about the relationships that happen in the newsroom, with the editor, with the journalist, and that sort of life, that whole other, it's a different side to something, and how corporate it is, and how political it is or is not. So that was interesting to me. Even the satellite offices that we showed, that's a pretty accurate sort of description of what it was with the Times and all those things. And there's the Mercury News and the redheaded stepchild corner, of the satellite offices.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about any specific institutions that I may or may not work for, but I think you got a lot of things right in terms of how places like this really do operate.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. You're not only a star of this film, but you were also a producer on this. Were there unexpected challenges just in terms of getting this set up and getting it going?
Not unexpected challenges, no. Making a movie is impossible. Anytime anything ever gets completed and you put it up on a big screen, it's a huge victory just to have that. And a movie like this, where people aren't throwing money at it to get made because there's nobody with capes and there's no robots that talk and do monologues. It's not, studios aren't interested in it. So there's a lot of headwind, and then there's the topic is also there's a lot of adversity that comes with that. You know, there's a few phone calls that happen, a few articles that are written that kind of discourage you and bully you and be nice to you. There's a lot of weird things that happen when trying to make a movie like this.
Do you start to feel like Gary Webb in these moments sometimes of like, I mean, here's a story that really is worth telling, and is worth sharing with people, and that you've got to navigate your way past these obstacles just in order to share it with the world?
Yeah, I'm sure I'll get audited this year, but fuck it. How'd that happen? I don't know. Cunts. Excuse my language, sorry. Jet lag from Morocco.
Yeah, one big part of the success of this film, I think, has a lot to do with the direction of Michael Cuesta, who people may know from films like L.I.E. He also works on shows like Homeland and Dexter. Can you talk a little bit about what he brought to this story and how he helped the storytelling that we saw?
Yeah, I've known Michael for a while. I've done 2 or 3 jobs prior to this one. One called 12 and Holding, which is a movie he did after L.I.E., and then a couple TV shows. And one he wanted me to do was Dexter, and I said, I can't play a serial killer guy. But anyway, we kept trying to work together, and then he got some great success off Homeland, and then the timing of Kill the Messenger kind of coming into my life and that happening for him, so it sort of made sense. Like, wow, I think it was into the 2nd season of it, and he kind of opened up a time for him, and like, let's do this, man. I think it's a great time for us to kind of do this. It's a big step up for you. It's a little bit bigger movie than you've done before, and we need you. He was passionate about it, and we got very lucky that we could work together again.
And I mean, he really has a kind of very dynamic style. That, I mean, this could have just been a story of a guy talking on a telephone for 2 hours, and he really finds a way to make this. I mean, there's a lot of movement and just rapidity.
Yeah. Michael Cuesta is really good at subjective material. Again, another reason why I like working with him. Those are kind of movies that I like to be in. You can tell a lot without having to do a whole lot and say a whole lot when you tell movies from perspective of our hero or anti-hero, whatever you want to call him. And there's a lot of handheld stuff, and it's fantastic. And we had a great DP. I mean, we got lucky across the board here.
I mean, some of the characters in the film sort of raise the possibility that the Webb character at least has perhaps become less interested in pursuing the truth of the story than in maybe chasing the glory that it brings him, or at least are trying to remind him that there are consequences if he reports this out. I mean, do you think? Did you feel like that was sort of in play with him, at least as a character, that maybe he's somebody who his motivations are to be questioned at different times?
I'm not sure.
Do you think that is his integrity sort of pure throughout? Does he ever get caught up in just the thrill of the chase? Does he sort of miss the consequences that the story might have for him if he goes down that road?
Well, I mean, the pursuit of truth can be thrilling, I suppose, and it can be awful. It could be boring and sitting in front of a microfiche. Or I don't know. Gary Webb, perhaps he was addicted to the pursuit of truth, so much to where even though he was a wonderful father and flawed, and wonderful husband and flawed, but he cared very much for his family. But neglect for his own health and his own family was a very real thing. Whether obsession and pursuit of that truth. It's all that really ultimately mattered. The thing that really ultimately broke Gary's back was the paper retracting and abandoning him, essentially. Anybody else, didn't matter what they said. I mean, there's all a good thing. People, when he caught headwind on his story, he's like, okay, well, something really kind of matters here for a lot of people here. And then when the paper backed away, then that's when he sort of spiraled into the Great Depression and wrote on his own.
I don't know if you're aware of this part of the story, but even in the last year, and I think in part motivated by the creation of this film, and there is at least one reporter who worked at the LA Times, during, basically on the team that was sort of assigned to follow up on Gary's reporting. This reporter has since come out and basically acknowledged that what they were assigned to do was to try to discredit Webb.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. There's a lot of those apologies that, well, I don't know what, it doesn't really matter. Is he just get vindicated at this point? And how can you be vindicated by something when most people don't even know what the hell even happened? You know what I mean? And he's 6 feet under at this point anyway. He's not turning over in his grave with a big smile on his face.
Right. Is it your hope that the movie will at least remind people of the work that he did, and that the story that he reported, was, I mean, as the closing credits point out, I mean, there was an IG, an Inspector General report that acknowledged the truth of a lot of what he did find.
Yeah. I mean, it's important for me to. Yes, it's important for Gary's legacy, and it's important for journalism. It's important for quality journalism. I think it's important for the Second Goddamn Amendment. I think it's a big commentary on a whole lot of things, and the takeaway on this ultimately for me is I got the thumbs up from the family, and that I represented their father in a very accurate way, and that's the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that to me is I raise my arms in victory. Everything else is downhill from there.
Yeah. We have about 10 minutes, and we can take some questions from the audience if folks want to raise their hand. You, sir, all the way in the back, yes, and just try to shout out as best you can.
In making the film, did you get any blowback or interference in any way from any government entity?
The question was, did you get any blowback from any government entities in making the movie?
Yes. I'm sure you want more. I'm already going to be audited. What else do you want from me?
Was that satisfactory? Other questions? Yes, you, sir. Yes.
About 16 months ago, I stumbled upon a project about another author that became a passion project of mine. I assume this was of yours if you've been working on it for so long and you became a producer and you seem to really get into this story and dig into the character. So, any advice on when you're working on a project that's towing the line between the truth and then you have to kind of bring it to film and maybe change something? Any advice on somebody who's about to do their first feature and do something like that?
Yeah, a few things. You want to clarify?
Oh yeah, the question was, advice if you are pursuing a passion project of your own and one, I guess, based on a real life story.
Yeah. Okay. My 2 cents on that, and maybe it's only a penny for my thought, but so someone's making a penny. A passion project. Well, be clear about first of all what you're doing. Passion can really cloud things and make bad decisions with passion. So be careful there. And also, you said your first film?
First feature, yeah.
First feature. We all gotta, you gotta do it at one time, right?
Yeah.
I still have yet to do that. And that's to crave. It's brave, and I said do it, but be clear, and don't let passion projects and just because it's true, and just because it really happened doesn't make it interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it deserves to be on a big screen. Be clear about in the storytelling of that. That's all I got to say about
that. There's a woman in the back. Yes.
2 questions. In the end, the suicide, instead of writing clearly that he committed suicide, it seemed to be implying that there was a controversy.
Oh, is that how you took it? Okay.
And also, I was just a little unclear. Probably other people know this, but is this are they saying that they were doing this after the Ollie North thing, or it was at the same time, but it wasn't revealed until later? In other words, are they saying that after the whole Ollie North thing, they were still doing that, or this was all at the same time?
So the woman's question was whether the the funneling of the drug money, whether that was taking place at the same time as the Oliver North scandal and when his goings on, or if this was happening later. Is it?
Yeah. That part of it, I believe, was happening after. Ollie North was more '84, wasn't it? And I believe this is more happening. I mean, the happening goings on were really probably, I think, even in '82. But I think Gary's sort of findings were more '86. I mean, dates are dates, but I believe it is more after the Ollie North stuff. I believe. And as far as the titles at the end about the suicide and what's implied, and then also what is just written and what is stated, it was purposely also written that way to make comment on what is implied, and what is stated. His statement is a statement, and there's no gray area in that. Let's just get that to be clear about that. Now, I can sit here and tell you all day long how I feel and think about that statement or that implication. Doesn't matter. It's really what matters is what you think about it.
You really should be the mayor of Camden, New Jersey.
I so hate politics.
I hope that was satisfactory answer. You sure right in the middle, yes.
A lot of tears were shed, and then just recently saw the movie, and they are, very. I can't really speak to how beautiful their emails were about it, but it's a hard thing to swallow, but it feels great, man. And they are actually doing very well. And Sue's looking good. She's feeling good. The kids are all grown up now, and yeah, they're doing all right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I think we have time for about 2 more questions. You, sir, in the second row. Yes, you're right there.
Yes, I have a question. Why you decided to do a movie about this character who is basically a lowlife, who used his research, using basically drug dealers and junkies to besmirch a lot of reputations of people who I consider to be icon, let's say Oliver North, who survives a scandal which was artificially created. Now he's a consultant at Moment. Basically, and he's still an icon, and one of the most respected conservative people. Why decided to do basically, not only that, he posted his sources, basically make them as a writer.
So yeah, the question is, why do a film about Gary Webb, who I suppose from one perspective maybe used his authority and his sources to sources who by some standards were not considered reputable, to perhaps smear other people? That's how the questioner posed it.
Right. Well, that's one perspective. That's not how I perceive it to be. But you have full right to feel how you feel about it. I chose to do this movie because it really reflects on the Second Amendment to me, on the power of a voice and the power. First Amendment. Sorry. I'm jet lagged, so you have to excuse me. But I do appreciate your opinion, and that's fantastic. But you're implying that that's why I'm doing the movie. I'm doing the movie because for many other reasons that I've already explained earlier. So maybe you just wanted to voice that. And something else, perhaps?
Yeah, one more question. Yes, right in the front.
Did you uncover any new material while doing this movie that you didn't use?
Did you uncover any new material in the...
Any new information regarding this whole investigation?
No, did I? No, I'm not an investigative reporter. I'm an actor trying to tell the story. So No, I mean, that would probably be more of on, people that had to do all the research to put the material together. Again, my job is only to create a real life, believable human being. I didn't get into that. Yeah, it's not my job. I'm certainly not a reporter.
Thank you for your question. Jeremy Renner, thank you so much for your